Well, hello there.
This is Sebas Ren,
And this is Darth Walt,
and we're your hosts for
father and son Star Wars talk.
Yeah, let's do this!
Today we're going to talk about Captain Phasma. She is alive and thanks to Han Solo.
Didn't she die at the end of episode 7? Also, Han Solo died too, so how could he possibly save her?
Well, that's what they want us to believe, but the fact is that we didn't see her die on screen. And some folks out there are claiming that she must be alive, but nobody explains how.
How would they know that she's alive?
Well, the actress was confirmed for episode 8.
Then we're going to see her again? She's alive!
Most likely yes, but that doesn't necessarily guarantee that she survived. Episode 7 established that flashbacks are not possible in Star Wars.
What's a flashback?
A scene of someone's past.
Like when Rey touched the lightsaber and saw herself as a little girl?
Correct, so we could see just Phasma in the past as memories of someone else's. Also, the original trilogy established that an actor whose character was dead can return in future episodes.
Like Obi-Wan Kenobi. He died in episode 4, and we saw him again in episode 5 and 6 as a ghost.
Exactly. For these reasons, the fact that the actress is part of the episode 8 cast shouldn't be sufficient information to conclude that she is alive. We need a lot more than that. If we find the right reason and an acceptable explanation, then we can say she's alive.
So, how then?
Let's start with the end of episode 7. What happened to Phasma?
She was captured by Han and Finn and thrown into the trash compactor. And then the planet exploded, boom! How could she be alive?
Right. The most popular reasons I have seen so far is that somehow she found a way to escape the trash compactor, and of course after this she quickly found a escape pod or an available spaceship to fly away from the planet on time at a safe distance. This explanation seemed a little forced to me, no pun intended.
Yeah, that sounds totally forced.
The other explanation was that she wasn't placed in the trash compactor for some behind-the-scenes reason.
Perhaps Han and Finn changed their minds and she was knocked out and left behind.
Right, then she conveniently wakes up on time to escape in a pod or a spaceship. How does that theory sound to you?
Worse than the first one. So, if those explanations aren't good enough, how did Phasma manage to escape before the planet exploded?
She didn't. She didn't escape. This theory explains that she survived the explosion thanks to Han. The trash compactor saved her.
What?
Let's see what we know about trash compactors. What's the last one that you remember?
In episode 4, when Luke, Han, and Leia ended up in one of them.
Bingo! What was the first thing that they did as an attempt to escape?
They initially tried to make a hole in the wall by using their blasters, but that didn't work.
And why exactly didn't work?
Because the bullets bounced back from the walls and they almost killed themselves.
You have good memory. So it was established that trash compactors are made of a very durable material, at least laser-proof. And this was just on the first Death Star. The size of a small moon. The next Death Star was bigger, and Starkiller Base was a lot bigger, and 36 years more advanced from a technology point of view. Therefore, it's not unreasonable to conclude that a trash compactor in Starkiller Base was far stronger than the one we saw in episode 4.
But strong enough to survive the destruction of a planet?
Possibly, why not? The collapse of Starkiller Base doesn't mean that automatically every single atom on the planet was destroyed. Not everything needs to turn into dust. The planet may no longer be a planet for sure, but there will be a lot of debris floating around. Do you recall any other destroyed planet?
Alderaan in episode 4, destroyed by the Death Star.
Yes, and did it turn into dust?
I remember when the Millennium Falcon reached the place where Alderaan was supposed to be, there was a bunch of floating rocks, instead like asteroids.
And that's called debris. That's what happens after a destruction. The stronger material remains, the weaker turns into dust. A trash compactor should be among the strongest materials, and a candidate to remain in one piece after an explosion.
But shouldn't the trash compactor have crushed Captain Phasma completely? At least that was Han's intention. I mean, literally.
Good point. Here, time was in favor of Phasma. If we remember episode 4, the walls in the trash compactor are not always in motion. They must follow a predictable schedule or someone needs to activate them manually. If activated, the walls move very slowly. So if the walls were in motion and the planet was destroyed shortly after, Phasma might have been saved by the bell. Without energy coming from the outside, the walls in the trash compactor must have stopped immediately.
But if there was no energy coming from the outside after the destruction of the planet, then the flow of oxygen must have also stopped, right?
Yes, true. There would be a limited supply of oxygen left in the trash compactor, and that should be sufficient enough to wait for someone to rescue her. We should also remember that Phasma was in full armor. This armor must have some additional reserves of oxygen, as well as the ability to protect her from major blunt force trauma resulting from being tossed around as a result of the planet's explosion.
All this sounds a bit familiar.
It's familiar to two Lucasfilm movies. By coincidence, both of them with Harrison Ford.
Which ones?
First, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
What? I haven't seen that one yet.
Yes, it's true. It's the fourth one, when Indiana Jones goes to Peru for the second time.
He goes to Peru again? Perhaps he has a family there like us. But aren't we talking about Phasma?
Okay, spoiler alert if you haven't seen this movie, but Indiana Jones survived a nuclear explosion
How?
by placing himself inside a refrigerator. All houses and cars nearby were destroyed, but the refrigerator was pushed away from the center of the explosion and protected him from the blast and any radiation as well. Phasma may follow a similar happy fate.
And what was the other movie?
The other movie was Star Wars Episode 4 A New Hope, of course. This is pretty much similar to the end of Darth Vader in this movie. All the other bad guys died in the destruction of the Death Star, but our favorite masked villain ended up saved, adrift, in a small damaged piece of metal, with limited oxygen supply.
The first time I saw episode 4, I thought Darth Vader was going to be lost in space forever.
For us to think that might have been the intention for the movie makers. Similarly, in episode 7, this ambiguous end for the masked villain is another parallel to episode 4 indeed, one of many.
How much time did Vader need to wait to be rescued?
We don't know exactly, but we know that after being rescued, he came back stronger in episode 5, full of determination to crush his enemies, the rebellion. Phasma may follow a similar path in episode 8. There are so many parallels between Phasma and Vader that we just can't overlook them.
In episode 5, Vader tells Luke that he is his father.
Yes, the masked villain ended up being revealed as the biological parent of the main hero. If we think this as another potential parallel, could this theory reinforce the idea that Captain Phasma is indeed Rey's mother? As Mas Kanata said, a good question for another time.
Wow!
What do you think, guys? Do you think Phasma is alive? Yes or no? If yes, would you consider this explanation sufficient? Let us know in the comments, and if you like this father and son Star Wars talk, show us your support by...
Like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the channel.
These were Darth Walt
And Sebas Ren!
May the Force be with you.
May the Force be with you again.